Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Last week, the Washington Post reported that President Trump agreed to a new strategy for Syria that may include new Russia sanctions. The strategy follows a requirement that I worked with my colleagues on the Armed Services Committee to include in this year's NDAA. My question for you is, what sanctions, if any, do you think that our government could impose on Russia that would change its actions in Syria? And I'll open it up for the panel.
Well, again, I hate to disappoint. When Putin on Russian national TV in October 2015 shook hands in the Kremlin palace with Assad and said, our goal is to restore the legitimate government of Syria. This was a promise not so much to Assad, this was a promise and a larger strategy of Putin's, where he portrays himself now as the restorer of the former glory of the Soviet Union, somebody who comes to aid of the former Soviet clients and allies, and Syria is the oldest one of them. And he is a wartime president, and this is how he portrays his legitimacy. I cannot think beyond the sanctions that already have been discussed here, and which are, I think, a sustained, long-term process. I cannot think of anything we can do at the moment to make Putin change his strategy in Syria, precisely because it would undermine significantly his domestic political support.
Thank you.
I would associate myself with that sentiment. I am not confident that sanctions are the tool to change Russia's behavior and support of President Assad, including condoning or supporting the use of chemical weapons against the Syrian population.
Thank you.
I would just add, I think it would require direct presidential involvement.
Okay, thank you. Last month, several of us met with former Ambassador McFaul following the Helsinki summit. And as you know, President Trump said after the summit that he would consider allowing Putin to question McFaul and other former American civil servants. As you can imagine, McFaul was quite concerned about his safety and that of other former civil servants traveling abroad. Congress passed a resolution condemning Trump's statement not long after that, but some of us feel we have a duty to the men and women who have served this country to do more to protect them. If you were designing an economic statecraft strategy to deter Putin from arresting former American civil servants and other governments from cooperating with him, what would it look like? Is there more that we can do to protect those Americans who are serving
Thank
abroad?
you, Senator. Mike McFaul is not just a colleague, he's a good personal friend of mine for many years, a man who's both scholarly and personal integrity I highly respect. It was painful for me personally to learn about this promise to Putin. Again, I think the sanctions we already have, or that are in the works, and the future sanctions are probably enough. But my advice to Mike is not to travel to Russia.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other thoughts on?
I would just say, I think the moment passed in Helsinki, there should have been direct and immediate consequences.
It's too late.
There were none.
It's too late. There's nothing we can do now. Is that what you're saying?
It's never too late, but I think in order to make a difference to Putin, again, this requires presidential engagement immediately after those actions were taken.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, I would just add that I'm not confident that, again, sanctions are the tool of choice here, that in fact strong leadership must come from the executive, as was just mentioned, as well as from the diplomatic community and diplomatic layers.
Thank you. Thank you again for the conversation. And let me just say to the chair and ranking member, thank you so much for the hearings. This is such obviously an important topic and role that we play in Congress, and I so appreciate the opportunity to explore further the actions that we can and should be taking. So thank you.